Who believes England are going to win the World Cup?
I'm going to have to put me in.
Well, Ian, I love that.
It's our first World Cup in 28 years from Scotland, so huge buzz around the country when we qualified.
We know FIFA, and we thought it would get better when Blatter went. It feels to me like it's actually got worse.
If you're giving money to country X to build their stadium, well, the delegate from country X is going to keep voting for Infantino.
I personally was really looking forward to this World Cup, but then all of a sudden, everything around it has just completely turned it on its head.
What's your first reaction when you see the squad?
It's either going to end with group exit or going all the way and not much in between.
A little bit dubious about Tuchel when he came in, just for various reasons.
We talked about how honest he is in press conferences. I love it, but it makes me wince a little bit.
That directness, that candidness he has, precisely because he's German, he doesn't care.
And you're talking about Jude Bellingham. If he, first game of the World Cup, goes, Jude, you're sitting on the bench next to me.
That'll be a big moment.
I mean, that sounds harmony out the window on day one, isn't it?
Because everyone talked about Scotland, the old enemy, and all this. For me, Argentina-England games are incredible.
Be interesting to see how your team do.
My team?
England.
Oh, my team's Liverpool. Hello and welcome back to the Fan Debate, brought to you by Sky Bet. Today's episode is a World Cup special as we look ahead to the tournament in the summer. So Shay's back with me once again. A big hello to our supporters and a warm welcome to journalist, author and co-host of the Football History podcast. It was what it was, Jonathan Wilson, and the England pod host, Ali Maxwell. So thanks for joining us, guys, and welcome to everyone. Shay, I'm going to start with you. What do you love most about the World Cup?
Playing in it was good. Supporting it growing up was good as well, under the Jack Charlton era from an Irish point of view, but playing was the pinnacle for my career, to play in Japan and Korea in 2002. But I think now that the Premier League's parked to one side, the Champions League final's gone, I think the focus quickly turns to the World Cup. Obviously Ireland are not there, but you're looking at the favourites, the best teams and the best players are obviously going to be performing in the World Cup in a couple of weeks. And it's the biggest tournament in world football, isn't it? That's what it is. I mean, it's a different format this year with more teams and stuff and things like that. We'll probably talk about in a bit, but there's nothing taken away from it. It's the greatest show on earth, isn't it? It's a brilliant tournament, and it'd be interesting to see who wins it. Of course, Argentina, the holders. You know, Messi got his final wish in the last final. Can Ronaldo maybe do it this year? I'm not so sure, but it'd be interesting to see how your team do as well.
Well, the next, my team.
England.
Oh, my team's Liverpool. You just mentioned Messi in the World Cup. My next question is, what's your favourite World Cup memory? But the fact you've just mentioned Messi, I'm actually going to choose that one as mine.
Right.
I just think it was fitting that a player of that stature finally won the World Cup for me. So that I think is probably the greatest final, I think probably in World Cup history. I think it must be. What's your favourite World Cup memory?
Might even go as far back as 94, actually back in America, where the World Cup was this year when Ray Houghton scored against Italy. 1-0 to beat Italy. I mean, the whole nation went absolutely bananas, of course. I think might have been Giant Stadium, actually, that game was in. But again, you know, it's memories that you know, young English fans or whatever, or Spanish fans or whatever it is, will make this year. You know, you forget, you think your first goal, your first game or whatever, your first memory as a fan, but that was a special day for a lot of Irish fans, of course.
Jonathan, you have released a new book, The Power and the Glory, A New History of the World Cup. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, the World Cup, I think, is my favourite thing in football and therefore my favourite thing in the world. So I've been obsessed by the World Cup since I was 5, the start of the '82 World Cup, which is my first one. And I remember pouring through the Ladybird history of the '82 World Cup, and because I was a weird and precocious 5-year-old, which will shock you. I knew the score of every final. I knew the scorers. I could have told you the capital city, the flag, the currency of every country in that first World Cup. And I've written 12 previous football histories, so I thought, right, it's time to do the thing I actually really want to do, and to try and set the World Cup in its sort of cultural, political context.
You know, the '82 World Cup, just because you said that was your first World Cup, it just come to me. Did that have 2 group stages, that World Cup?
Yeah, it's just 6 groups of 4 feeding into 4 groups of 3.
Wow.
And they got rid of that because the problem was that the 4 groups of 3, the winners of each group went through, but if a team won the first 2 games, that third game was completely pointless. But that was where you got that brilliant group with Brazil, Argentina, Italy in the famous Italy 3, Brazil 2 game.
Yeah.
So it produced some great football, but also some football that didn't matter at all.
Tell us about what's changed in the USA since the World Cup was last there in '94. And I must say, and this is not me being a little Englander, I mean, how have America had 2 World Cups since, and England have had 1?
Because it's the home of capitalism, and they've got money and they see it as a massive market. But I mean, it's a fair question. I mean, the biggest thing that's changed is MLS. So the third attempt really to launch a professional league in the US started in '96. I think it's pretty established as a league. I think it's probably 12th, 13th best league in the world, depending exactly how you judge that. I think the US probably is a bit better now, but it probably hasn't kicked on quite as much as they'd like. I mean, if you look at who are the best American players, you think sort of 10, 15 years ago, you had people like Clint Dempsey, Landon Donovan. I'm not sure, you'd have expected maybe 5 or 6 to be playing in the Premier League now. Christian Pulisic's probably the highest profile. So I suspect it hasn't quite developed as they'd liked. And I was speaking to Matteo Pochettino last year, and he was saying one of the problems is there's not really a culture of grassroots football, and that still hasn't started. It hasn't begun. So if you want to play, basically your parents have to pay for you to join a club, and that means that a lot of people who are playing tend to be middle class. There's a whole load of people who just can't afford it. But B, if you've paid, I don't know how much it costs, $500, $1,000 a year for your kid to be playing there, at the end of the year, you go to the coaches and say, well, how have you made my kid better? And positional awareness or first touch or technical ability, it's very hard to measure that. What you can measure is sprinting speed, what weights are they lifting. So the focus is very much on the physical side of the game. And I think you look at somebody like Christian Pulisic, you can see physically he's great. Is he good at doing anything other than running in straight lines? Maybe not.
You said you've covered a lot of World Cups and you know everything about them. And every tournament, almost all of them, the conditions will play a factor in terms of, at the end of a season, the heat. Is this going to be on a completely different level?
Yeah.
Probably what we've seen before,
I think Qatar, one of the reasons the football was so good was precisely because it was in the winter. 20, 25 degrees, it's fine. Whereas this, we could be talking 35 degrees, high humidity. I think also Qatar, the football was benefited because people who played in Europe only halfway through the season and not knackered at the end of the season. So, Anthony Barry, Thomas Tuchel's assistant, he was talking about a heat-proof game model. He was a bit more sort of evasive about what that meant, but I assume that means not pressing constantly for 90 minutes, pressing in short bursts, probably a lot of focus on set plays, trying to calm the game down. But teams clearly having to think about that.
Listen, we know FIFA, and we thought it would get better when Blatter went. It feels to me like it's actually got worse. The situation with group stage tickets, you said you're all going over for the tournament. I mean, where is it at right now? I mean, this is something I've read in the press without probably looking into the absolute detail of it. I mean, are the stadiums half full of the England, Club England, or, the supporters groups of Scotland as well? Have they got behind? Have they taken all their allocation up?
It's a bit of a difficult one. I mean, with England, the most disappointing thing for me, you go to World Cups to watch the game, but also you go with your mates. Okay, so I go with quite a big group of people, and they really look forward to every tournament. Germany, you go out there, you get your city that you stay in, you get your train journeys, and it's part of the social as well as the football itself. I personally was really looking forward to this World Cup. I mean, Shay talks about, 1994. I actually never went to a 94 World Cup. I went to 1990, but because England went in 94, I didn't go. You know what I'm saying? So stupid, because my family lived out in America, my brother was out there. They're like, come over. I was like, no, England not there, I'm not going to go. After it didn't happen, I was gutted, and I just thought, I can't wait till the World Cup's back in America again. So now it's come around, I thought, okay, the World Cup's back in America again, okay, the reasons behind it and all that, okay, that's a different story, but I was really excited. But then all of a sudden, everything around it is just completely turned it on its head. So a lot of my mates who are all excited about it, they've all planned to do the trip, one by one, they've all dropped out. So what you've got is big groups of people that were going to go, and they're like, no, we're not going. These are people that go everywhere. They've gone to all the qualifying matches for England. They've gone everywhere. They've been to every single tournament. Top cappers, people that get caps, that get tickets easily, and they're not going. Or what they're doing, they're saying, tell you what, I'll buy a ticket for the final. If we get there, okay, so I could tick it off. Or I'll go to the first knockout game or the second knockout game. Or a lot of people are actually going to, fingers crossed, if we do finish top, then the 16s game will be in Mexico. So like everyone, that's the hottest ticket at the moment now. Everyone's going.
Is that because everything's a lot cheaper in Mexico? Is that basically it?
That is the reason why, but also because it's Mexico, and a lot of people saying we've never been to Mexico. To see England play in Mexico, which is a proper footballing country. I mean, I was in Mexico last year, and I went and all the Mexicans that I'm in out there, sort of, Darren and all that, they're going, make sure you come over to Mexico, Bill. When you come out there, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to come to Mexico. We've got to go where England are, and then we'll, travel around. After a week in Mexico, I'm like, I'm coming out to Mexico. So we're actually flying out to Mexico, and we're actually flying in and out of Mexico because it's cheaper. It's much more of a footballing country. But at the moment now, when you ask about the tickets, a lot of the tickets of the games didn't sell out for the allocation as much as, or it's on the edge. So I think they've sold out, and there's a bit of a wait list. But in general, the more important thing is there's a lot of people that would go that are just not going because of everything around the World Cup. It's as they said, it spoilt it for them.
Yeah. Dan, Martin, similar thoughts with Scotland?
No, we wouldn't hedge our bets on being in the past the knockout stage, unfortunately. So I think everyone we know, it's our first World Cup in 28 years from Scotland. So it was a huge buzz around the country when we qualified. Everyone we know that's into it was wanting to travel out and be there. The allocation was tiny, I think, for all the nations. I think it worked out something like 8%. The Tartan Army's got a huge following. It's oversubscribed. You can't join the official Tartan Army. So it's sell-on tickets at the moment. Some people
Which are coming down, aren't they?
They are coming down a bit, yeah.
But, give us an idea.
So I think at the start, the chat was if you were going to buy one on the resale, you're maybe looking at $800 just for like a lowest category ticket. But that's like when we've got mates that have just grabbed ones for maybe about $300, $400, which is still really, really high. But as I said, I think we've got a very different situation. We've not been to a World Cup in 28 years, so, anyone...
Well, the guy you're talking about, who probably, I would say, sets the prices here, Infantino, the head of FIFA, says the 2026 World Cup will be the biggest, most inclusive and greatest tournament of all time. Thoughts on that, Ali?
Well, it's the biggest, literally. I'm not sure about the other two. It's so tough to hear Billy talking about top cappers, people for whom following England is like pretty much everything, because it takes a lot of time, effort, money, not being able to go because of this. We're very fortunate, the England pod, we're going out for the group stages. We've managed to get a sponsorship to cover the trip. Otherwise, there's no way we'd be going either. I think there's obviously so many different factors, and you can travel cheaply or not so cheaply, but just for those watching who are just wanting a number maybe, because that's what never quite gets said, is I would say for a group of 3, as we are, to go out for the group stages and do it the way that we want to do it, probably between 15 and 20 grand for a group of 3. So if you want to do the whole 7 weeks and you want to stay out and you can take the time off work and family commitments, we're talking double that, 30, 40 grand probably.
When we talk about club, we talk about this a lot in club football, about ticket prices and what are and the clubs use the argument of, we need to bring this revenue in because we need to pay the players' wages and whatever. What is it about? How can FIFA justify? Because I know in the last tournament there has been a huge jump in terms of ticket prices from 4 years ago. How do they justify? What is the argument for? What is the money for it? So if you're talking about the ticket price being, I think you just mentioned 800 quid, 600 quid. Let's say it was 100. Where does that money go for FIFA? Does that go to FIFA?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I certainly don't want to speak for FIFA, but I think what they would say is, and I don't know the extent to which this actually happens, but they do an awful lot of work globally, right? Whether it's good work or not good work, they certainly purport to invest a lot of money into the game globally, and sometimes in much smaller nations who won't be in the World Cup. And I guess so they see this as, their biggest revenue stream, right? It's their big tournament. It is their biggest way of making money. So I guess for them, they would say, well, the more money we can make from this tournament, the more we can plough into good causes across the world. Whether you believe that they do that.
That's absolutely the line they would give you. So in a 4-year cycle, so if you look at the last 4-year cycle, including the 2022 World Cup, 83% of FIFA's revenue came from that World Cup. So I suspect that proportion will be even higher this time, although they've got the Club World Cup expanded now, which should bring in more money. So yeah, the nice idea is this money is redistributed around the world. You're building, I don't know, Benin needs a stadium. Brilliant, there's a stadium in Benin. You need to go and train up referees in Ecuador or whatever. But actually, we all know that FIFA has become this vehicle to get Gianni Infantino re-elected. So a lot of these handouts from FIFA, the Gold Project, for instance, I think if you actually audited that properly, you'd see the money doesn't necessarily go where it's meant to go. But if you're giving money to country X to build their stadium, well, the delegate from country X is going to keep voting for Infantino. They have all these FIFA committees, which they've proliferated. They've got bigger and bigger. If you're an FA delegate that's sitting on one of those committees, you get a stipend and you get your expenses, which are very, very generous. Again, you're not going to rock the boat. You're not going to challenge Infantino. So all of this, while there may well be some good stuff going on, and there are very good people at FIFA, it also helps Infantino get...
The thing is, sorry, I was just going to say is that the fans would get punished at the end of the day. It's like,
yeah, completely.
Because the FIFA will get all the TV rights money and all the different sponsorship.
Well, and this has
stuff.
changed since
And
2006.
if the stadium's half empty, it's not the same product, is it? Yeah, exactly. If the atmosphere isn't so good, it's not the same. And it's you guys who bring that.
But the stadiums are not going to be empty, and that's part of the problem as well, because it's in America. Okay, I mean, I'm a Brentford fan, and I went out 2 years ago to the Summer Series out there, and obviously, sort of Premier League is starting to become big within a sort of almost like a little clique. So it's almost like a sort of kind of credible sort of, use the word trendy sort of thing in America. So the fans are in it, they're properly in it. I mean, I go and watch MLS quite a lot out there as well, so I know quite a lot about American fan culture. But they've also got this culture where they are happy to pay whatever for tickets. So we get, again, as Brentford, we get a lot of Americans that come over and they come up, they ring us up and say, right, can you get some tickets? We say, okay, £30. They're like, £30? I'm like, is that all? Yeah, that's what it is in this country, okay? 20's plenty, £30. They're like, oh my God, that's how much we pay for, we pay less than that in our fees in America. Then we went out to to this cup over there, and tickets were like $200, $300. We had people that paid $500, $600 to go and see a friendly match, and they don't think too much about it. So what you've got now, the scenario is that FIFA's gone in, they've gone, okay, it's in America now. America will play it. So what we'll do, instead of last year at the Euros 2 years ago, I mean, no, it's not FIFA, tickets were 60 quid, 80 quid. The cheapest ticket is going to be 200 quid, right? Just for a group game. And then after that, we'll step it up. Then we'll get 350 quid. And then then the final is going to be 3,200 for the cheapest ticket. Wow. It's ridiculous. So all of a sudden, what you've got is then the resale market comes in. Then the resale market, people will go, well, the cheapest ticket's 200 quid. So if somebody wants to come in, he's going to actually pay at least 400, if not 600. The Americans come in and say, well, we'll pay 1,000, 1,200. Final tickets are on there for sort of 5,000, 8,000, 10,000 pounds. It's got ridiculous. And the most disgusting thing about it is that FIFA, instead of normally people go to StubHub to buy tickets, but they said, we're going to control the resale of tickets ourselves. So we'll make our own StubHub. And what we'll do is that if you want to resell a ticket, so if you bought a ticket for a game, you buy it for 200 quid, then you could put it on the FIFA StubHub for £1,000 if you wanted to. No problem. They said that's fine.
He's a disgrace, that fella. I can't stand him.
And they
really have a big problem.
And they take 30%, 15% on either side.
So you don't think he can ever? He's got it carved up the way you can never get rid of him.
I mean, the only way you could get rid of him would be a much stronger UEFA under a different president than Cheferin. We don't have that at the moment. Yeah. And UEFA has the power, it has the wealth. You could, for instance, if you wanted to challenge FIFA, you could say, right, the Nations League is a pre-existing tournament. Let's invite Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, maybe Japan, South Korea, maybe the big TV markets, US, Mexico. And then you really do have a threat to FIFA because you can't have a World Cup without those nations. But at the minute, there's no prospect of that happening.
Is there any incentive for them to join that, though? Like, from a financial perspective, if UEFA tried to do that, what's the financial incentive? Like you already said, the stipend and all the expenses. If you've got the delegates that are in his pocket, they're not going to...
No, I mean, you're quite right, and that's one of the reasons why it won't happen. It would only be if you got, say, a very enlightened leader in the Argentinian game or the Brazilian game, or if this new sort of Nations League Plus could generate enough revenue that you could sort of challenge.
And sorry, just the other quickly thing is the flights, the hotels, the trains. They've all
the dynamic pricing theoretically means. I think this is why you're right. The stadiums will be pretty well filled. Dynamic pricing means that the prices can come down. So I've got mates who live in the US who are saying, well, I'm not buying a ticket till the week before. And I think, they're not bothered particularly about what game they're going to, but I've got a mate who lives in Atlanta. They've got Uzbekistan v DR Congo, so not necessarily the most attractive game. There's no huge Uzbek or Congolese diaspora in America to fill the stadium. So those prices will drop to $20, $15, $10. So if you live in Georgia, brilliant. Wait till the week before, then buy the ticket. But you can't do that if you live in Uzbekistan or live in DR Congo or live anywhere and you want to go to that game. You've got to get your flights, you've got to get your hotels, you've got to sort out your visa. And the other thing, we're saying this as people from Britain who are relatively, in world terms, wealthy. Say you're a Bosnian fan. So Bosnia, their second World Cup, their first game's against Canada. Had a look at that last week. The price for that is $2,250. Now, the average monthly wage in Bosnia is $800. So you're saying to the average Bosnian, if you want to go to this game, only your fourth ever game at the World Cup, even before you pay the flights, the hotels and everything, it's going to cost you 3 months' wages to go and watch a game against Canada.
Disgrace, isn't it? Just want to bring, Martin and Daniel in. We brought them in initially on ticket price, so we're going to try and get off that and try and bring a bit of positivity to this episode of the World Cup. So you're brothers, members of the band, Skerry Vo.
Yep, spot on, yeah.
Have I got that right?
Yep.
So welcome to the show, and I'm just looking at, is that at the Ali McLeod?
78, yes.
Is that when you were going to win the World Cup?
Yeah.
Supposedly at the time.
Too young to remember that.
Yeah.
But you've brought out a World Cup song for Scotland.
Yeah. we've
Never
done that.
Stopped Dreaming. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I think just like everyone else in Scotland, when we finally did qualify after that time, the euphoria took over and we thought it would be a great idea to write a song, but so did every other Scottish band, so there's plenty of songs going out up there. But I think, as a nation, we're trying to keep as positive as we can about it. There's a lot of stuff around it that, ticket prices and everyone else, but in terms of the nation going there for the first time, it's been amazing for this generation. I was pretty young when we were there last time in France, 98, so...
So you're heading over to Boston, but you're stopping up in New York on the way. So what's planned in Boston? The Tartan Army are there. You're going to have a ball, Boston and New York?
Yeah, we've managed to actually a couple of shows when we're out there as well, and we'll probably do like the parade before the game and go to the game and stuff. So it's going to be incredible. It was a long time. It's been a long time coming to qualify for a World Cup. So
Many fans are they expecting, Scottish fans, forget the ticket situation, but just in general to go there.
have we got a rough number now?
There'll be tens of thousands. I think we're going to base ourselves in Providence before the second game. We're going to stay out in the Wreck. There's going to be about 10,000 Tartan Army there. So we've already got a Providence Tartan Army and there's a march organised for that as well. So we're very lucky. We were at the Euros a couple of years ago as well and had an amazing experience. The main reason we're going over to Boston is it's a charity event for Street Soccer Scotland, the top that Martin's wearing. It's an amazing charity. And a family, the Yarrow Foundation, they have an event that they're doing in Boston to raise money for that charity as well. So we had a great night and they did the same thing in Munich. Actually, mate Roy Keane was there. He managed to gate crash the party.
Sneaked in.
We had a good time with the Scots. So he was there and we had it's probably the best day of life. So we ended up having lunch with Sir Alex Ferguson the day after, before we went to the game and got hammered by Germany.
Brought back down to earth very quickly.
Okay, well this time, what's a successful tournament for Scotland?
I think just performing well and being even if we get a result along the way, it's like.
I think we have to get out the group.
We have to try and get out the group.
Beforehand at the Euros, but getting to a major tournament again was a big thing. But we've done that twice now. I think the next step with the Scotland team is to come out this group, and particularly with the players that we have just now, McGinn and McTominay are playing right at the top.
I mean, the game against Denmark was special, wasn't it? The goals in that game. I mean, McTominay's overhead kick was the stuff of
And
dreams,
Kenny
wasn't it?
McLean just capped it off.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Incredible.
Yeah, so I think it's got to be not just being there and the Scots being there for a good time. It's got to be this time. We've got.
Well, that's the other thing as well, is the format of the World Cup now, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've got a great chance of getting out of the group because of more teams you guys mentioned before, and it's
Essentially
top
3
2
points.
Scotland never got out the group, have they?
No.
No.
So it's a big chance, isn't it?
Yeah, good opportunity. And the manager who will have masterminded that, if that's the case, is Steve Clark. Just signed a new contract. Pleased with that?
Yeah, I think he deserves it. I think a lot of us felt it was quite funny timing and would have maybe waited until after the World Cup to do that as well, especially the way the last 2 majors have went to the Euros, so maybe the timing was off, but they're obviously showing a commitment to him
Who's if you're out to progress, get through the group, have a good time in the knockout stages, who do you think is your key player?
I think probably McTominay's obviously, he's kind of touted as one of the best players, probably global at the moment. But I think, there's a few guys like probably Lawrence Shankland, get 2 goals at the weekend, get great finishers. I think probably guys like that.
There is, I think there's a huge emphasis that he puts on the squad and making it almost like a club team atmosphere. There's been a lot said about them not taking McBurney, even though his contribution for Hull and other players not getting selected. But Steve Clarke's always been very much a club type mentality, so they're a really tight knit group. Obviously, McTominay's like a global.
I was
star
gutted
now,
for Gilmour. Were you?
I was going to say, if you'd asked me the same question, I would say Gilmour's probably the most important player, just in terms of like retaining the ball and calmness. And we need that at times when we've not got a lot of the ball. We need somebody that'll keep it.
I just think anyone now playing those little friendlies before the tournament, just from any country, anyone gets an injury, you think, every 4 years. So I was gutted when I saw that for Billy Gilmour. Jonathan, your superb World Cup memory. So we're going to ask you, give us your favourite Scotland World Cup story.
I think if we go back to the first World Cup Scotland played in, 1954, which I'm afraid very much sets the template. So to start with, Rangers say, hang on, do we actually have to give up our players? We pay their wages. So they get a ruling on this. And the ruling is, if you've already got a game arranged, then no, you don't. So Rangers' response is to arrange a tour of Canada so they don't have to release any players for the World Cup.
Wow.
So they then go to the World Cup. Squads are 22 in those days. They take 13, 2 of them are goalkeepers. They take a massive selection committee. Andy Beattie, the manager, resigns after the first game, where they lose 1-0 to Austria, which actually is a good Austria side. They get to the semi-finals. And so the selection committee, there's not much selecting to be done when you've only got 11 outfield players. They then lose 7-0 to Uruguay. But I can just give you a quote from Tam Reid, who's the head of the selection committee. This is before the first game against Austria. Our forwards have been instructed to go all out for an early goal, knowing from experience that the Continentals don't like to have to fight back. Special emphasis has been laid on the necessity of hard but always fair tackling. This should knock some of the funny notions out of the heads of the Austrians. So that's the level of research and insight that Scotland used to put into these.
Brilliant. Right, let's turn our attention to the Three Lions. Dan, what's your first reaction when you've seen the squad?
It's interesting, shall we say. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, hasn't there, about the selection. Obviously, as a Palace fan, seeing Adam Wharton not go, I can't get my head around it. Obviously, he's such a fantastic talent. And, I mean, even Morgan Gibbs-White not being involved, I can't really understand personally. But at the same time, Thomas Tuchel has often been spoken about as somebody who is not there to sort of play to the whims of what England fans want. He's there to win us a tournament. And I suppose the proof of the pudding will very much be in the eating, because if you get to the knockout rounds and you start getting through these games and you perform in a way similar to what the lads were saying about Scotland as a club side, you don't necessarily need the best players in terms of their club form and the teams they play for. If they're bonded as a group and they end up getting to the final and winning it, then everyone's going to look wiser after the event. But as of right now, I would suggest it's either going to end with a group exit or going all the way and not much in between.
Billy, to follow on from that, when you saw the squad, do you look at that squad and what you think that the team Tuchel will pick and think that's a team that can win, or a squad that can win the World Cup?
I thought it's a squad that's going to do okay. And again, not rose-tinted glasses, but I was a little bit dubious about Tuchel when he came in, just for various reasons. And I'm normally 100% behind every manager, Sven, even Fabio. I was 100% behind them all, even Roy Hodgson, I'm saying. I'm not knocking Roy, but I'm saying, but when you look back at all these scenarios, you think, Roy Hodgson, England, he's taken us to Rio. No, he's not at all. He's taken us home. But when Tuchel came in, I was a little bit guarded, and I remember going to Barcelona for the game out there against Andorra, and I was a little bit like, show me, and we ground through that game, and we managed just about to get a result, and I was like, I'm not quite sure about this. And also, I was very much a Southgate person, not necessarily because of what he did tactically, but what he did in the background, and stuff like that as well. So now, I have to admit, as he's come through the group stages and what he's done in the group stages, I've had to just take a step back and think, actually, I think the guy's got an idea of knows what he wants to do. And I think that the squad that he's chosen and the reasons behind it, like, I see Dan Burn, I'm like, I'm not quite sure. Why Dan Burn? You know what I'm saying? I'm looking at Jed Spence, I'm like, I'm not sure about Jed Spence. But then when he's given his reasons behind why he's done it, I've got to step back and say, look, this guy sees them all the time and he knows what he's doing. And I think that, and the most surprising one for me, being a Brentford fan again, Ivan Toney, okay? Brilliant striker. When he was playing for us, I thought should be all over England, went to the Euros, got a little bit of a chance. I didn't think Gareth gave him enough of a chance because I know what he could do. But then he's brought him in after scoring goals for Saudi. He's not even seen him play. You know what I'm saying? He sent Justin Cochran out to go and see him. But I think it's a brilliant move because he is a brilliant striker, a great person. And just little moves like that, I think, will give us the edge because everyone's got to go, who's Ivan Toney? Got no idea how to play against him.
Well, you've got a lot of experience with World Cups and you were in Saint Etienne.
Oh, yeah.
For a certain goal back in 1998. Tell us about it.
God, blimey, Michael Owen. You know what I'm saying? So I'd gone to that game and I went with my mate Leeds, man. It's surprising who he supports, actually. And we went and we got another ticket for somebody. So I ended up sitting in the side stand. So I was sitting there in the side stand, all the England fans behind the goal. And I've got to say, this is still one of the most exciting games I've ever been to. It was like a tinderbox atmosphere inside that stadium. And then I just remember Michael Owen picking up the ball, running the score, went past us, scored, and he put the ball in the back of the net. And literally, it went off. And I just went so mad. I remember there's this Coca-Cola seller. I just ran up the stairs, hugged this Coca-Cola seller. He just looked at me, just took him above me. It's like that, sort of running up and down. It was an unbelievable feeling. I mean, that whole game, the behind it, the Beckham kick getting sent off, the goal that was disallowed, the penalties up it was just, honestly, it's an unbelievable game. And for me, that had sort of made Argentina, because everyone talks about Scotland, the old enemy, and all this. For me, Argentina-England games are incredible. They are. The atmosphere, the Argentinians, there's a little bit of, needle between, what I'm saying? So you get that little edge on the pitch and off the pitch. Japan 2002, when we played Argentina, when we got that penalty and then for 80 minutes for hanging on. Again, one of the best games I've ever been to in my life. And the party afterwards in Sapporo, which went on all night, like literally in all the bars, all the England fans and the Japanese, just unbelievable. But that game when Michael Owen scored, that goal, unbelievable. After that, unfortunately, it didn't quite go to plan. But
well, we'll see what happens in the summer. Ali, I want to ask you a similar question. Obviously, there's when that squad come out, who were you disappointed? Who do you think deserved the call-up?
Yeah, I mean, like Billy, we've been following Tuchel's England pretty closely, and he pretty much laid it all out throughout, from his very first press conference until the squad announcement. And more than any other England manager I can remember, he does just explain the reasons why he's done everything, and he doesn't hold back. And even it can be quite jarring, can't it? 'Cause he's very honest about why he didn't take Palmer and Foden. I think Foden, he said, I don't know what position he plays for us, and it's jarring. But I like his honesty. So I wouldn't say any of the squad announcement actually shocked us, other than the Toney inclusion, because this England team, and it's always worth making this point, it's not been put together now for the World Cup. It started back in March 2025. And so it was actually the camps in September, October, November that were the most important for building the team. It doesn't start now, it started then. So the main guys that I think were the headlines not being included, Gibbs White for his fantastic club form, but wasn't involved in any of the qualifying. Foden and Palmer for different reasons. I think people have sort of just about understood why they didn't go. They've got so much competition in their positions, and if you watch Tuchel's England, and you see how Rodgers played, for example, it's hard to argue that he would be, someone to play in that number 10 role. Lewis Hall, just because we've only got one left-footed left back, and that's a bit of a concern on that front. I agree with Dan. For me, it's the omission of Wharton that I find hardest to get my head around. A, because of the player that he is and the skill that he has that not many other players have with that snappy, progressive passing and his vision. We can all see, because we've seen it dozens of times, games in which England are struggling against a set defence, and that skill must be something that, it's so important for that. But also just the fact that we've got Anderson and Rice, we're all buzzing with those two. They've been brilliant, and Anderson's unlocked Rice to a degree. If Anderson was to get injured, I don't want Rice dropping deeper again, because we've seen that enough and it's not getting the best out of him. I don't really want Henderson, therefore, starting in that role. And Mainoo's the other centre mid in the squad. That's not his best position, being that first one to pick it up off the defence as well. So for me, just not having Wharton when you've got 26 players in the squad feels very strange.
What I was going to say about Trent. What about Trent? You never mentioned Trent.
Well,
Because you talk about unlocking defences, and we're probably nearly all agreeing that maybe from a defensive side of view, he has his frailties, isn't he, Trent?
Yeah.
Well, if you're trying to unlock a low block or whatever it might be in tight games, even
I agree,
Trent off
yeah.
the bench, his delivery and stuff.
Very, very little.
But you didn't mention him there, that's what I was just wondering.
Only, I'm going off what we saw from
Yeah.
you know,
I think
our audience.
what you're saying is he was never going, was he?
Exactly. People
He's
knew he
never
wasn't
had him involved in
Tuchel
that.
just doesn't like him as a player. He just clearly.
Think it's a
doesn't
fallout,
like
or do you
him.
think it's a tactical thing? Do you think it's a defensive thing?
I think it's
he's playing
a
for Real Madrid
defensive
here,
work
lads.
rate,
He's playing for Real
physicality.
Madrid.
For sure. Well,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
But the way that Tuchel uses his fullbacks is, you know, they are much more about like.
But Spence was a surprise for me as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know,
I
the
think
team that's nearly
Spence-
got relegated, like.
I think Spence is basically, whether you agree if this is true or not, but his sort of thing is being a lockdown defender, right? Like incredibly quick, good footwork. And I basically think if we play against an Mbappe or someone, that's where he might use Spence.
I think when you look at the squad, he's put energy and athleticism and harmony over talent. There's no way, when you're talking about talent.
Harmony is a good word to use, I think. That's
I think he sees certain players. Maybe Trent's one of them. Maybe Foden, Palmer. I don't know the Harry Maguire one, but the fact he's gone for Dan Burn, I think most people in this room would probably say you'd say Harry Maguire's probably a better player than Dan Burn. But I know he loves Dan Burn in and around the squad. He
can also play left back, Dan, as well, can't he?
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
So
just when you're listening to him and talking to him, obviously I know Anthony Barry a little bit through his Scouser, but they put great store in this togetherness, and we're going to be as a group for hopefully 6 weeks. But this is bigger than just having a talented player. We can't have anybody who brings the group down in any way, or a negativity, or they're not happy, they're not playing, or they're throwing their arms about. This is about we're going to be a team. And he's not daft, Tuchel. He obviously knows in Foden and Palmer, Trent Alexander-Arnold, probably three of the most technical players we've got right now. But they're not in a squad. And you think of something Anthony Barry mentioned, I think, Jonathan, you mentioned before about how they're going to go about winning the World Cup. Now, it won't be about like maybe amazing football or pressing, but set pieces are going to play a big part in it as well. So maybe that's in their idea, maybe also rotation. And the thing that I thought was interesting is when he picked the four wingers, I've got that right, Madueke, Saka, Anthony Gordon, Rashford. Yeah. Normally when you're picking a squad, you'll think, okay, we'll have a quick one, and then we might have someone who gets between the lines, so you've almost got different types of players. Whereas they're actually think, no, our wingers are just going to be fast. We're not going to have a Foden or a Palmer who maybe gets in the pockets. If Saka's not playing, Madueke's just going to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. But it's about pace, it's about energy, it's about runners, it's not sort of players getting between the lines. And if you go back to the last tournament, that was the criticism, wasn't it, of Gareth Southgate? There was almost too many of those players. He was trying to fit them in, wasn't he, to try and
it's about the fit with
the team.
Kane. I think Tuchel is obsessed with Harry Kane, and understandably so. It's all in that front line. It's all about the fit with Kane, and if he's dropping deep, which he does very naturally, occupying the centre backs, how do you make the most of that? Where you need people penetrating in behind.
What's your opinion on
making the
Kane?
most
I
of
mean,
that?
he's had an unbelievable scoring career in the last couple of years, but in the last majors and in the Euros, obviously, it felt like you were carrying him for a long period.
I think
Had a back injury
hopefully,
as well.
hopefully he's coming into it physically in much better shape. I mean, the confidence that he's playing with at the moment is just ridiculous. So I think, I'm broadly in agreement with how Tuchel's trying to build the team tactically. It'd be really interesting the number 10 role, because I think Rodgers and Kane have started to develop a nice relationship throughout the qualifiers. Because Bellingham was absent, he was injured. So now that he's back and available, it does feel like it's either Bellingham or Rodgers starting. And most people would say...
just on that point, do you think then you're talking about harmony in the squad and you're talking about Jude Bellingham? If he, first game of the World Cup, goes, Jude, you're sitting on the bench next to me, and
that'll
Rodgers,
be a big
you're
moment.
starting. I mean, that sounds harmony out the window on day one, isn't it?
That'll be a big
I
moment.
think Tuchel's strong enough. I think he's shown already with how he's dealt with Jude. He's left him out of a couple of squads. There's been things said. There's obviously... there's a relationship to be worked on, I would say, from both parties there. But I don't see a situation, unless Morgan Rodgers gets injured in the warm-up games, where Jude Bellingham starts the first game. I think it's more
That's going to be a
obvious.
huge. I don't think many people have really cottoned onto that still in the wider media. Like
Yeah.
that, the media are going to turn that into a massive thing. And so Tuchel's ability to handle that. We talked about how honest he is in press conferences. I love it, but it makes me wince a little bit. After the Wales friendly at Wembley, he basically like moaned about the poor atmosphere, and it felt like a shot at the fans. But anyone who goes to England games at Wembley, A, they know what to expect atmosphere-wise, and B, they know that all the factors that go into the poor atmosphere, it is not the individual fans' fault. It's because of the how difficult it is to get there, how expensive.
Yeah.
So he's already said a few things that make me somewhat concerned about how he's going to cope with it. Even though I am broadly optimistic, I do like him.
But I think, sorry, that directness, that candidness he has, I think partly it's because, precisely because he's German, he doesn't care. He doesn't care as much. He loves London. He clearly has a really nice social life in London. But he knows that in 5 years, 10 years, he's going to be back in Germany. It's not like Graham Taylor, every time he goes into Tesco, the bloke in the cheese counter says, well, why did you take Lineker off?
Yeah.
He can, and I think that should give him more clarity.
Why didn't he send Koeman off?
Well,
But you also look at, back in, again, like 2006, the team there, that you played in, and you look at the manager, you look at the setup, you look at the team, look at how it was dealt with, look at the press, look at everything. Look how we've moved on to now, like, I'm saying 2018, 2022, where we are now, actually. It's completely different, the mentality on that. We had some great players in that day, and we all thought, I went to all these World Cups, I thought, yeah, we're going to win the World Cup. But looking back at it, I look back at some of the videos, I thought, God, blimey, I know we're a bit unlucky there, but we weren't going to win it. I think we're much more set up now as a rounded outfit, off the pitch and on the pitch, and the balance of these players, and you haven't got that kind of those selection problems that they just weren't dealt with, or players that were kind of, back then, 2006, South Africa 2010, there's all sorts of stuff going on in the changing room.
Well, they're the two World Cups I was involved in. I can't say now when I look back at my career, when people, at the end of your career, people say, oh, what are you proud of? And a lot of people say, I played in a couple of World Cups. I don't say that about myself. It's not so... Yes, I played in 2 World Cups. I don't think I enjoyed the experience. I didn't love it. I didn't come away thinking, wow, I was part of the World Cup. They never, and what you're saying, there was a lot of negativity. The team didn't do well. The media side of it, you didn't come away the way the lads in probably 1990, they get to the semi-final, still remembered now. What Gareth's done. And I do have a little nagging fear. I think Gareth Southgate's going to be a lot more appreciated in the next sort of 5 to 10 years, because I was a massive Southgate fan in terms of what he did with England, and people saying they underachieved and they should have done this with this team. I'm a little bit like this with this tournament, where I think England could, I think they'll find it tough, if I'm being totally honest, to look at the squad that's picked, and there's a lot of good players in there, but I class a lot of them as good Premier League players. I don't look at all of them and think, that's an international player there, and maybe that's where we are with the squad at the moment. So I wouldn't say I'm the most optimistic sort of right now. But I want to bring the guys in at the back there. What are you most looking forward to before you get into this World Cup? What is the thing you're looking at?
I think the thing's just been back there. The Scottish fans been back amongst the World Cup. Obviously hoping the Irish were going to be there as well, and it'd have been an even bigger party.
A weird one.
But as we were saying earlier on, I think that there is now an expectation to get out the group and do well at it. We don't want to just be there for the fun and the party, which will be there for sure. But I think that with this group, we've been together, the Scotland team, we've been together now for a good couple of years, been at a couple of major tournaments, had the experience, so the expectation is there to go out. The chance is there, the first game against Haiti, which is probably the one I'm most worried about. We're notoriously bad against any team we're expected to win against. It'd probably been better.
But that's like a cup final, Haiti, isn't it? The first game.
Yeah,
If you win that, then you've got an unbelievable chance of getting through, haven't you?
Yeah. And
Brazil's the last game, is that right?
Brazil's last game.
So
And
you don't want to come down to that, do you?
That'll be typical Scotland, though. We'll come down to
Brazil.
the game, aye.
We'll probably leave it to have to beat Brazil to get through. That's probably how it's going to.
Right, a little vote. Who believes England are going to win the World Cup?
I'm going to have to put my hand up.
Well, Ian, I love that. Yeah, well done. We've got another one at the back.
It's about a little bit of luck. And that's the thing, you know that as well. A little bit of luck. There's penalties that don't go in, a little bit of luck.
Yeah.
And once you get out the group stages, and that's the most important thing. Tuchel, I remember going to Brazil. Again, I remember going out there, so happy. 4 days later, I was going home because Roy Hodgson wasn't sending us to Rio. You know what I'm saying? And I just said to myself, tell you something, I know you used to moan about England not being all sparkly in the group stages anymore. I literally do not care. You can go out there, put 11 men behind the ball. Let's just get us out them group stages, because once you got the group stages, boom, you bring Bellingham on or whatever like that.
Is there any worry from an England point of view about when Germany come into, like Germany, England, say in a semi or a final with the manager and stuff? I just find it remarkable that the manager is German.
No, not at all. He'll want to beat Germany.
You think?
I'm saying he'll want to prove a point. He's like, you didn't give me the German manager, so I'm going to be here. I'm going to beat you.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Interesting. I learned a lot about Tuchel from one of the podcasts that Jonathan did, and Nagelsmann and Tuchel are like protege and mentor. Is that right? So
Yes, sort of, yeah. That's another dynamic.
big narrative.
I think Tuchel would back himself in that one. I think.
Yeah.
Will Scotland make the knockouts?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we'll have that one. Right, just before we finish, we've got a fan debate community question to everybody. Sent in from Pat from Huddersfield. If Cristiano Ronaldo wins the World Cup, he will forever settle the Ronaldo versus Messi debate and go down as the greatest player in history. Do you agree?
No.
No.
No, I don't agree. Do you think if he won the World Cup, would that put him... I don't think it makes him the greatest player in history, but do you think that would put him above Messi?
No.
No, not for me either.
But I've been framing the question.
Who's Pat? Honestly, God.
Do you think all jokes aside on the Ronaldo thing, because I've seen clips of him in recent weeks playing, obviously, in Saudi, he looks like it's a wee bit caught up with him, perhaps.
They're more likely to win if he doesn't
but
start.
Portuguese have got
then
some
it'll be
great
framed as
players,
him winning
and
the
then
World
you're trying to
Cup.
build a team around this one player that maybe he's not at the level he was.
They should be a great side. You look at the players they've got.
Yeah.
You look at them 4 years ago, they finally leave Ronaldo out for that game against Switzerland, and Gonçalo Ramos scores a hat-trick. And yet still, the sort of...
But do you think Ronaldo this summer will be an impact sub, or do you actually think
No,
that
he'll
Martinez is
start.
going to have to start him?
He'll start, and there won't be much impact there. He'll lumber about.
No, Roberto Martinez always speaks so highly of him, doesn't he? I think it's such a...
He's got any choice, I don't think.
No, I agree. I just want to go through everyone then and tell me who you think will win the World Cup.
Argentina.
France.
Brazil.
France.
Spain.
England.
I'm going to go Brazil.
I'm going to go France. And before we go, Jonathan, I want to ask you lastly, because you know more about World Cup history than anybody, what do you class as the three biggest or iconic moments in World Cup history, if you could give us a top three?
Moments only.
Or moments, goals, I don't know.
Okay, so the 5 minutes when Maradona scores twice against England in 1986 in the quarter-final.
Okay, is that going number one or three?
That's on the short list. I think, Messi's performance in the final last time. I'm uneasy picking something as recent, but
No, I agree.
it's so huge. And then this again, I want to choose something obscure, but I think Pele's pass to Carlos Alberto for the fourth goal against Italy in 1970.
That would have been my three.
Not Gordon Banks' save, no?
Yeah, maybe, but I just think they are...
I'm just a goalkeeper.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, absolutely spot on.
Thank you.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, that brings to an end another episode of The Fan Debate, brought to you by Sky Bet.